Hello, everybody. It is currently October 20th, 2020. We are less than a week away from the 2020 presidential election, and on 538 right now, Joe Biden has an 88 in 100 chance to win the presidential election compared to Donald Trump's 11 in 100. And then we have the one solo dot here right in the middle at a 269 to 269 electoral vote tie, meaning that nobody has a majority and the House of Representatives will end up deciding the election. But since Biden is favored to win the election by a pretty substantial margin, I wanted to look at today what a realistic Biden landslide scenario would look like. So here we have a blank electoral college map, and we can go ahead and start just by giving Joe Biden the states that he's pretty much guaranteed to win no matter what ends up happening on election night. So we can start with Hawaii, California, Oregon, Washington, New Mexico, Colorado, Illinois, Minnesota. Go on over to the East Coast for Virginia, not Pennsylvania. That is very much going to be a swing state. New York, we can get all these little blue states over here. And then we have a couple states that you have to remember are divided proportionally. But out of these, Maine's 1st District and Maine at large are pretty solid locks for Joe Biden. Going over to Donald Trump, the states that we can pretty much give him no matter what. We can start with Alaska, Utah, Idaho, Montana, Wyoming, the Dakotas, Nebraska. Again, they divide up their electoral votes proportionally, so we can go ahead and give Trump everything in Nebraska except for the 2nd District, which encompasses a lot of Omaha, Kansas, Oklahoma, pretty much all the deep south states except for Georgia. That's going to be a little different. South Carolina, Tennessee, Kentucky, Missouri, Indiana, West Virginia. So now we are at a stage where it's 222 for Joe Biden and 125 for Donald Trump. And I think this is pretty much the guaranteed stuff out of the way. So now we can look at what the Biden scenario would be. So I do think in a realistic landslide scenario for him, he would end up taking all of these 191 toss-up votes that I still have remaining on the map. But there are definitely a few different tiers I want to talk about because some are definitely a lot more likely than others. So we can start with the states that Hillary Clinton won in 2016 and just go ahead and give those back to Joe Biden again. So we can go in Nevada and we can go in New Hampshire, go ahead and give those on over. Then we go another tier, we can give Maine 2nd District. Then we have the blue wall here, which Trump infamously won in 2016. That's pretty much the biggest reason why he was able to pull off that victory that year. We can go ahead and give that back to Joe Biden. He's looking pretty good in the polls there. It's not guaranteed, especially in Pennsylvania is looking the shakiest of the three. But Pennsylvania, Michigan, Wisconsin, we can go ahead and give those over to Joe Biden. And then we have Nebraska's 2nd District, which there hasn't been a whole ton of polling there, but that is looking very good so far. That did go to Trump in 2016, but that's a pretty likely flip for Joe Biden this year. I would say go ahead and give that one electoral vote on over to Biden. Then we have a few states these are sometimes referred to as like Sunbelt states that are shifting pretty rapidly demographically towards the Democrats for the most part. Some of these states have voted pretty reliably red in recent years, but right now it looks like that could be changing very quickly. So, of course, we're going to go ahead and give Arizona, Georgia, Florida, and North Carolina over to Joe Biden. Florida, of course, is pretty much a toss-up every presidential election, it seems like. North Carolina definitely leans red a little bit, and it's probably going to continue to do so. But in a Biden landslide scenario, he definitely picks up North Carolina. And then Georgia and Arizona are, of course, those states that are shifting pretty rapidly towards the Democrats. And if they're going to start picking those up on a presidential level, this is going to be the year for that. And then we have 3 remaining states, and that is Texas, Iowa, and Ohio. And these are the 3 that I would say are the least likely of the realistic pickups, but definitely still possible in a in a Biden landslide scenario. So Texas, obviously huge prize, 30 electoral votes. It's the most populous state in the country behind California. The early voting data, there's a ton of early voting happening. They're definitely way on pace to outpace their 2016 turnout. So we'll have to see what ends up happening for that. But Biden does have an outside chance of winning Texas. Then we have Ohio, which is definitely shifting red, but it's still not red enough to where in a solid Biden win, he could take back Ohio this year. And then Iowa, which is also shifting red, though to a lesser extent than Ohio. And it's a pretty elastic state politically, meaning you can kind of expect it to be able to go either way. So Biden definitely has a shot at picking up Iowa as well. So there you have it. That's the final map of what a realistic Biden landslide I think would look like. We have 413 for Joe Biden and 125 for Donald Trump. Now, if you wanted to tack on just a little bit extra for Biden, what I would do is I would go ahead and give him Montana, Alaska, Missouri, and South Carolina. That would put him at 438. And the reason I would give him those four, if you go down to 530, it's a winding path to victory. We start going into the red states. We have Ohio and Texas as the first two, which I do think Biden has a shot at. But then the next four are Montana, Alaska, South Carolina, and Missouri. And Trump definitely, you can see in Missouri, like he's almost 9 points ahead right now in the forecasted vote share. Montana less so, it's more like 8, but that's still a pretty substantial margin. But if you actually like click into these states, you can see 14 out of 100, which is pretty low. But you have to remember, 14 in 100, that's higher than Donald Trump's chance of winning the election on the entire model right now at 11. So I don't think it's likely. I don't think it's actually going to happen. But if you're going to go towards a more extreme landslide, it's definitely a very outside possibility. But for the realistic landslide scenario, I'm going to go ahead and give those 4 states back to Trump. And if you want to see a Biden landslide, I think this is really the best you can hope for. And this would definitely be a great outcome for Biden and the Democrats. And you have to remember states like Iowa and North Carolina have competitive Senate races as well. So if Biden wins those states at the presidential level, there's a good chance that those states are going to flip from red to blue in the Senate as well, and probably putting the Democrats over the hump to give them control of the Senate and a trifecta. So there you have it. That's my realistic Biden landslide prediction. Let me know what you think. Do you think this is going to happen? I personally don't, but if a Biden landslide does happen, this is probably what it would look like. I think the actual election is going to be a lot closer than this. If you enjoyed the video, be sure to subscribe for more election analysis in the future. Be sure to give the video a like, and I will see you next time.